In the first half of the 19th century it was known as the slave traders' capital city. Recent Baltimore protests over the police homicide of Freddie Gray were about much more than the killing of a young black man. The legacy of slavery is deep in a city many consider to be outside the South. The Monumental City, as it was known in the 1820s, was at the headwaters of American human trafficking. That traffic's structural violence turned African American sons and daughters, wives and fathers into human products. 1 in 7 enslaved African Americans was forced across state lines in the following decade. In Baltimore, black people were jailed, sold, and shipped in the bellies of merchant vessels. Most were stolen from families by slave traders. Austin Woolfolk was a mastermind of the market. Just 19 when he arrived in Baltimore in 1815, the tall, athletic slave trader operated out of city taverns, handing banknotes to slaveholders thirsty for liquid assets. Woolfolk came up in Tennessee, served in the state's militia during the War of 1812, and participated in the Battle of New Orleans. There he saw the fortunes to be made on the backs of African-descended countrymen. The foreign slave trade was closed in 1808, yet planters demanded young bound workers for their canaries and cotton fields. As demand rose in the Deep South for bondpersons bound away from eastern seaboard homes, slave prices in New Orleans reached roughly twice what they were in Maryland. Yet there wasn't yet an interregional exchange. Woolfolk was an entrepreneur with a gift for imagining a market before it existed and then ushering it into being. His main innovation was advertising in rapidly growing daily newspapers. Like cash for cars or gold today, cash for Negroes was his tagline. Woolfolk soon became a brand. Early on he used the Baltimore City Jail to warehouse captives until shackling them together and marching them to Georgia. But as cotton became the nation's biggest export commodity in the 1820s, Woolfolk built his own jail and booked space aboard merchant ships. He built a reputation in New Orleans, site of the Deep South's largest slave market. Woolfolk's brothers and other relatives arrived in Maryland to cash in on the profits. Woolfolk allied traders set up purchasing agencies in Annapolis, Easton, and Washington, D.C. By 1821, Austin Woolfolk's Baltimore headquarters included a whitewashed house and private jail, located on West Pratt Street at the intersection of what is today Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Any archaeological remains are buried under a divided highway. It was a far-flung enterprise. Woolfolk's uncle, John Woolfolk, set up in New Orleans and Natchez, running a sales agency, selling people, acting like a bank, and remitting the tens of thousands of dollars, millions in today's money, that sustained a supply chain and captives. The combination of newspaper advertising, financiering, shipping, and an elaborate corporate form for the day gave the Woolfolks competitive advantages that drove rivals out of the market. Some protested. Cash for blood, screamed Baltimore's Nils's Weekly Register in 1821. Anti-slavery Quakers arrived at Fells Point to inspect ships in which Woolfolk's captives were consigned. Such ships were part of an architecture of oppression, which seamlessly combined traffic and human beings with trade in commodities like flour, wine, and manufactured goods.